Welcome back to your nerdy show. I'm your host, Spoiler Master. All right, I want you to imagine this for a second. You've got Kong, the same Titan who went head-to-head with a literal nuclear-powered god. And then on the other side, something we barely understand yet. Something that might not even follow the same rules as every other creature we've seen so far. Now, tell me honestly, does that sound like a fair fight to you? Because the more you really think about it, the more this matchup starts to feel completely unbalanced, and not in the obvious way people expect. The problem with this matchup. See, most people approach this kind of fight in the simplest way possible. They ask who's stronger, who's bigger, who hits harder. It's the classic way we've always compared titans, and to be fair, it usually works. But this time, that approach kind of falls apart, because this isn't just a battle between two powerful creatures. This is a clash between something we fully understand and something we barely have any answers for. And that difference? That's exactly why this fight already feels unfair before it even begins. We've spent years watching Kong grow into what he is now. This version of Kong isn't just some giant monster smashing things blindly. He's experienced. He's been through real battles. He's faced enemies that should have ended him, and somehow he adapted, learned, and kept going. That's what makes him so dangerous. He's not just powerful. He's intelligent in a way most titans simply aren't. He doesn't just fight. He figures things out as the fight is happening. That ability alone has saved him more times than raw strength ever could. Why Kong is so dangerous. When you really look at Kong, what stands out isn't just his strength, it's how he uses it. He doesn't rely on brute force alone. He uses tools, strategy, and his surroundings in ways that make him feel almost human compared to other titans. That axe he carries isn't just a cool weapon, it's proof that he thinks ahead. It absorbs energy, it changes the dynamic of a fight, and it gives him a way to go up against enemies that would otherwise completely overpower him. And we've already seen him do exactly that against Godzilla. Now think about how insane that is for a second. Godzilla isn't just another titan. He's basically the definition of an alpha, a walking force of nature that dominates almost everything in his path. And yet Kong didn't just get erased from existence the moment they clashed. He held his ground. He adapted mid-fight. He pushed back in ways no one expected. That tells you everything you need to know about Kong's level. He's not invincible, but he's one of the few titans who can turn an impossible situation into something survivable. But here's where things start to shift in a way most people aren't paying attention to. Because everything I just said about Kong, it all depends on one key idea. It depends on him being able to understand what he's fighting. Titan X changes the rules, and that's exactly where Titan X completely flips the script. Because the biggest problem with Titan X isn't that it's stronger or bigger or more aggressive. The real problem is that we don't fully know what it is yet. And in the MonsterVerse, that kind of uncertainty is never a good sign. Every Titan we've seen so far follows a certain pattern. They have instincts, roles, and a place in the natural balance of things. There's a system, even if it's chaotic. There's a hierarchy that determines how they behave and interact. Titan X doesn't seem to fit into that system at all, and that alone should make you pause for a second. Because if something doesn't follow the established rules, then the strategies that worked before might not work anymore. It's like playing a game where you've mastered every mechanic, and suddenly a new opponent shows up that completely ignores all of them. You can't predict it, you can't prepare for it, and you definitely can't rely on what you already know. The egg changes everything. Now here's something really important that a lot of people are missing, especially if you've been paying close attention to Monarch, Legacy of Monsters, specifically Episode 8 and Episode 9. Because when you look at those episodes carefully, Titan X might not just be some mindless, destructive force. It might actually be acting out of instinct and, more importantly, protection. Think about the eggs. Those weren't just random background details. They were being guarded, protected, and the behavior we saw wasn't pure aggression for the sake of destruction. It felt defensive, almost territorial, but in a very specific way. Like the creature wasn't trying to dominate everything around it. It was trying to make sure nothing got close to those eggs. And that changes how we see this titan completely. Because now, instead of looking at it like a villain, you start to see it more like a parent, a protector, something operating on a biological drive that's actually very familiar, just scaled up to a terrifying level. And suddenly, the attacks, the unpredictability, the intensity, they all make a different kind of sense. But here's where it gets even more interesting. If those eggs are connected to Titan X, then we're not just dealing with one unknown titan. We might be looking at an entire new generation. And if even one of them carries the same unpredictable traits, the same potential for evolution or mutation, then this isn't just a fight anymore. It's the beginning of something much bigger. And from Kong's perspective, that makes things way more complicated. Because now, he's not just fighting a threat. He might be stepping into something that's acting on instinct to protect its future. And fighting something like that is completely different from fighting for dominance. The danger of the unknown. Let's really break that down in a simple way. Kong wins fights because he learns. He observes his opponent, figures out their patterns, and then uses that knowledge to survive and eventually strike back. But what happens when the opponent doesn't have a consistent pattern? What happens when it evolves, changes, or behaves in ways that don't repeat? Suddenly, learning becomes a lot harder. And if you can't learn your enemy, you can't outplay them. That's where Titan X becomes genuinely terrifying. There are strong hints that it might be connected to something bigger, something like rapid evolution or unpredictable mutation. If that's true, then it's not just a static threat. It's something that could change during the fight itself. And that kind of ability completely shifts the balance, because now Kong isn't just fighting an opponent. He's fighting something that might become stronger or more dangerous as the battle goes on. Strength vs potential. This is the part where most people get it wrong. They try to compare Kong's current strength to Titan X as if both are on the same level of certainty, but they're not. Kong's power is proven. We've seen it, measured it, understood it. Titan X's power, on the other hand, is potential. And potential is a very different kind of threat. It doesn't need to be stronger right now. It just needs the ability to become stronger when it matters most. That's what makes this matchup feel so unfair, because Kong is fighting at his peak, while Titan X might still be growing into something even more dangerous. It's like comparing a fully trained warrior to something that's still evolving into its final form. One is stable and predictable, the other is open-ended and uncertain. And in a fight like that, unpredictability can be more dangerous than raw power. Durability and limits. Another thing we need to talk about is durability, because this is where the gap might become even more obvious. Kong is incredibly tough, no doubt about it. He's taken insane levels of damage and kept going. But at the end of the day, he's still biological. He still gets hurt, he still tires out, and he still has a limit. We've seen him reach that limit before, and that's what makes his victory so impressive. But Titan X, we don't even know if it operates with the same limitations. If it's tied to some kind of evolving biology or something beyond normal Titan behavior, then it might not wear down in the same way. It might not slow down. It might not weaken as the fight continues. And if that's the case, then Kong is stuck in a battle of endurance against something that might not even experience exhaustion the same way. Why this fight isn't fair. So when you step back and look at everything together, the imbalance becomes really clear. It's not that Kong is weak. It's not that he can't win. It's that he's fighting something that might not be playing by the same rules. And that's what makes this feel unfair. Because fairness in a fight usually comes from both sides operating under the same system, the same logic, the same limitations, the same kind of existence. Titan X might break all of that. And if it does, then Kong isn't just dealing with a stronger enemy. He's dealing with a completely different kind of threat, one that forces him to adapt in ways he's never had to before. Can Kong still win? Now, here's the interesting part, because despite everything we've talked about, you can't count Kong out completely. If there's any Titan capable of figuring out a way through something like this, it's him. His intelligence, his instincts, his ability to adapt under pressure. Those things still matter. In fact, they might be the only reason he has a chance at all. But the difference this time is that his victory wouldn't come from overpowering his opponent. It would come from understanding it. And that's a much harder challenge when the thing you're trying to understand keeps changing, the bigger picture. And honestly, this might not even be just about Kong. This could be setting up something much bigger for the MonsterVerse as a whole. Because if Titan X really is as unpredictable and rule-breaking as it seems, then it's not just a threat to one Titan. It's a threat to the entire system. Even Godzilla, the alpha who maintains balance, might struggle against something like this. And if that happens, then we're not looking at a simple fight anymore. We're looking at a shift, a moment where the entire hierarchy of Titans could change, where the old rules stop applying and something new takes their place. our nerdy thoughts. So when you ask who wins between Kong and Titan X, you're kind of asking the wrong question, because the real issue isn't about strength or power. It's about compatibility. It's about whether Kong can even fight something like this on equal terms. And right now, it doesn't look like he can. Kong might be stronger today. He might be the better fighter. But Titan X represents something else entirely. Something unknown, unpredictable, and potentially limitless. And that's why this fight isn't fair. Because sometimes it's not about who's stronger. It's about who's playing by the rules and who isn't.
No, what the heck, I'll laugh anyway.